Patek Philippe just launched a completely new model line and the internet is going crazy about it. Cubitus was launched on the 17th of October, a completely new model line by Patek Philippe. New model lines are pretty rare, especially from the bigger, more established luxury watch brands. We had the 1908 from Rolex a couple of years ago, and now Patek Philippe comes in with the Cubitus, a square-shaped sports watch. Let's see what the fuss is all about. Thierry Stern, the president of Patek Philippe, announced a while back that there will be a new model line added to Patek Philippe watches. It took some time, but now, here in October, on the 17th, Cubitus was introduced in 3 different variants. The internet was looking forward to this new launch because new model lines actually are pretty rare. Unfortunately, an American magazine published an ad with a leak of the new watch, and this had the internet going crazy. Well, speculations were that this square-shaped watch is the real deal, and a lot of people didn't like it. But now let's fast forward to the official launch and to the unveiling of 3 different Cubitus models. So let's dive into the specs of the new Cubitus watches. As the name suggests, the watches are square-shaped. Well, kind of square-shaped because the edges are a bit rounded. We have an integrated bracelet with, well, the signature design that you would also find on the Nautilus. And there are 3 different kinds of variants. There is a steel variant with a very nice olive green dial. Then there is a 2-tone version, rose gold and steel, with a blue sunburst dial. And then there is a platinum version with a day, date, and moon phase complication. All of the watches have a case diameter of 45 millimeters, and as Ben Clymer suggested in his first hands-on with the watches over on Instagram, I'll have a link to the video down below, the lug-to-lug is pretty much the same. So now you might be thinking this is a huge watch with 45 millimeters. You have to actually take into account that the lug-to-lug in this case is the more appropriate way to measuring the size of the watch. And the watches are very thin as well. The platinum version has a thickness of just over 9 millimeters, and the steel and 2-tone come in at just over 8 millimeters, being a tad bit thinner as the actual Nautilus. It's not going to be the biggest watch because 45 millimeters might sound huge, but in terms of lug-to-lug, they're actually not as big. For example, my Rolex Milgauss has a lug-to-lug of 49 millimeters. It's not that wide. And this is the case for the Cubitus. It's a wider watch. I usually say that with these wider watches, it's like wearing a plate on your wrist. It has a bigger presence on your wrist compared to other watches because the actual face and the dial is larger. You have more watch on your wrist in terms of width than you would have with, well, a normal 40 millimeter watch. But that doesn't mean the watch is going to be too big, for example, for my 16.5 centimeter in circumference wrist. In this case, I'd suggest go to your local dealer. If you're lucky, they will have one in and you can try it on. I definitely recommend this. Even I can't tell if this watch is going to be super huge or not. In any case, from the pictures that I saw over on Instagram, it feels like a little bit in between. I saw it on different kinds of wrists, and I know the people that have handled the watches, and I approximately know their wrist size. I think it's gonna be on the slightly larger end in terms of presence on the wrist, but due to the lug-to-lug and the integrated bracelet, it's actually not going to be that huge. So now let's go into detail with the 3 watches. Starting off with the steel version, the 5821-1A. This is the Cubitus watch with the olive green dial. A beautiful sunburst dial with the horizontally embossed lines that will remind me of classic sports watch theme of Patek. It has white gold applied markers and has a beautiful sweeping seconds that I actually appreciate because it looks very nice. And I appreciate Patek for integrating the olive green sunburst style into the new Cubitus, especially into the new Cubitus in steel, because this is also the most affordable version of all the three, coming in at around 40,000 euros. And depending on the country and your taxes, the price will definitely vary. I like this particularly because if you remember, there was a special edition 5711 Nautilus with this exact or very similar olive green sunburst style. And I just like that they understood that people liked this colorway and they're bringing it in at the entry level part of this new model line. Something that I've noticed on all of these watches is that we're talking about a sports watch. However, a while ago, Patek changed their policy on determining the water resistancy. So now all watches, or most of the watches, have a water resistancy up to 30 meters, the new Cubitus included. Time will tell if it actually handles water the similar way as the Nautilus and the Aquanaut, but I do strongly believe that all of the three sports-themed watches are actually good to handle in water. I estimate them having actual 100 meters of water resistance. I can only tell you what they say on the spec sheet. Next up is the 5821-1AR, the two-tone variant of the Cubitus watch. And this is an interesting combo because you don't actually commonly see the mixture of rose gold and steel. Yes, there is a GMT master in rose gold and steel, but still, this isn't super common, and even two-tone isn't super common for Patek. And therefore, this combination is quite interesting, and I actually really like it. So if you're wondering, what I'm having here on my computer is the actual spec sheet and the information that I got from Patek on the new Cubitus watches. So excuse me if I have to look here because it's still very fresh. The watch has a very nice blue sunburst dial with the same horizontally embossed bars that all of the watches feature. Not much more to say about this particular watch. And last but not least, the 5822P. I always like platinum watches by Patek because especially the modern watches feature a nice little Easter egg hidden at 6 o'clock on the case side, a small little diamond. And in this case, it's the first time that Patek actually uses a baguette cut diamond. The 5822P is special because for this particular watch, Patek had to, create a new movement. And for this movement, 6 new patents were filed. If you have a Patek complication with a date, day, or moon phase, you might have noticed that there's not an instantaneous switch from the date, for example. In this case, they managed to do so. All 3 components jump instantaneously, day, date, and moon phase, and this is also why they needed to work on the movements to integrate that. And there's a couple of special things about the big date here because there are actually 2 discs. In order to have a seamless transformation from 31 to 1, there had to be some technical improvements there, and they managed to create this instantaneous switch. Again, here we have the blue sunburst style, and similar to the 5712, we have this asymmetric layout of the dial implemented in a different way. And I've always had a thing for the 5726 with its big date at just under 12 o'clock, and this is incorporated in the 5822, and I secretly really like this. The first time I saw this particular watch, I was kind of shocked, like most people that are into watches and are enthusiasts for Patek, because it's very different and it's very off the normal paths for a brand like Patek Philippe. But the watch kind of grew on me, and the big date is something I love. I love the Langes with the big date. It's something special in my opinion, and it's great when watchmakers implement the big date into their watches because it's always a bit of a challenge to implement such a complication. And then again, you have this asymmetric layout that you would also find on the 5712, which not a lot of people liked in the beginning too. I think that especially in combination with the big date, this is a very, very cool watch. Quirky, very different, and weird, to be honest. This thing is going to be pretty popular. I like that Patek put it on a strap and not a platinum bracelet. I, for one, have difficulties wearing integrated bracelets because obviously I'm from Hirsch and I want to wear my own products. Reason number two, there is something very functional about a strap on one of these integrated watches, because you can create a strap that is very thin and very flexible, which you cannot with a metal bracelet. And therefore, actually, this particular watch will taper much better, in my opinion, than the integrated bracelet versions. So now you already know which is my favorite. Although I do like the clean steel version, it's very nice. By the way, the 5822P comes in at 86,000 euros. Overall, a very, very interesting launch of a new model line. A very brave approach for the future. And I'm eager to see what they are going to do with this model line in the coming years, because particularly complications could look cool on this square shape. And somehow square shaped watches are back trending. So let's see what happens. I appreciate Patek doing something new, bringing a new model line, and of course, there are going to be people that are going to say, well, basically, it's just a square-shaped Nautilus, and you might be right. But then again, it's kind of quirky for Patek to do something like this. This is what I love about watches. Even the big established brands, especially if they're family-owned, they can do something like this. And only time will tell how successful the model will be. Are these watches that I particularly want to buy? No. Brutally honest, I have a very small wrist in my opinion, and even 41, 42 millimeter case diameters look huge on my wrist. Even this Blancpain swatch is a tad bit too big for my taste. Seeing the pictures of this watch, I do feel that this again is going to be a watch that is on the larger end. I prefer my watches to be a bit more under the radar, a bit smaller, sleeker. I like them to slide under my cuffs. I also don't have a thing for integrated bracelet watches, and therefore I don't think I can handle a square-shaped watch. I'll be brutally honest here. I don't think I can. I'll have to try it on, I have to wait and see, and who knows what might happen. What do you think about the new Cubitus watch by Patek Philippe? Put it down in the comments below. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on the watch. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do subscribe. And as always, if you feel like it, put a thumbs up. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.